the community board meeting for Teviot Valley on 4th of April 2024. Thank you for your time. But yeah, reasonably full agenda today. I have no apologies. And we have one speaker in our public forum. I'd like to come forward. Barbara's going to be speaking to the grant application for the museum.
So I'm Barbara Fraser, and I've been on behalf of the museum, and we've applied for contributions for operating costs, mainly the insurance and just as a background, we purchased the previous consignment lodge, so we now got extra costs there, so the insurance is $500 from last year. We've got rates, recent account for all the rates, and I believe the rates are going to be about $500 in July. And firstly, although we're looking at the moment of connecting to buildings, maybe so we're a non-profit organisation, and we're a registered charity, and we are run totally by volunteers. And I just want to go a little bit of background of why we like to work on the community board and the value by the community board. So we've got two main functions. One is just to do the heritage of the gallery, so that is for people, photos, individuals, groups, families, and we've got like ordinary families, like they like to have collections of photos and, you know, others that are handed down for generations, and then they together and reminisce about them, and then the people connecting to the past and to the other people. And so we actually function in a similar way. So we're not just preserving the items that have been donated, but we're making them available for play. And the research, so we get a lot of people in that are actually, you know, wanting to find out something about that sort of an item, something else, or because of the accounts, we get quite a few people through this kind of work on hydro. And we do a lot of research like during the week, like online, and we do have people out during the week. So we're open for 2 hours each day on the weekend, but we're actually available every day, and we read people locally that can just get on in about 5 minutes to get a lot of little different information for us. So the second function is that you know, they're not just items, they've all got backstory things about the people actually who come to view them. And we find one of the very good listeners up there actually. People want to tell you about their ancestry, and it's actually really quite interesting. So I believe we're providing certainly like a community service as well as a community asset, and when the new lodges are fully functioning, we've had some events in the front room already. But you know, we're going to be part of the technical event stuff. We're actually in that trust, and we're part of not just the Teviot Valley, we're actually part of the Teviot. And the idea is the 5 main museums, and we've taken look at that like our umbrella. So they are each task, if you like, is creating what's the difference. And the current of the common story, so the gold story, the wall story, the brick story, the fortune. So I just would be able to get the support and to be valued as, you know, as a community asset in the school. Mark here is pretty familiar with what we're doing as well, so I want to question what is covering for? Well, we're calling it the Robin Christie one, and half of it is going to, there are 30 patents involved in the research area, but all the documents in the top of the at the moment will come down here, and we've already got the Wi-Fi down here, and then the kitchen renewal outside room, and the other part is actually for temporary exhibition to support the heritage for more group items. The Central Museum's 100 project, now I think the items are going to be previous there.
So, do you have a membership as such?
Yeah. Well, we have groups of members, if you like. We have those that come to meetings regularly, and then we have groups that do the rostering on the weekends, and then we have honorary members. So there are over 30 individuals with families and thousands that contribute that like to an initial fundraising to get honorary members.
Oh, it's well supported.
And we've got good support from other people on the valley that aren't related to the museum as well. And I think heritage talk would be higher than the other ones, but I don't know because most of the people there weren't actually museum people. They were people from the wider and not just from the museum, from museum people if you want.
But I'd like to say that the time that I've been on the committee as a council representative, I'm very impressed with the way that the whole thing's run and the objectives of it and the energy on the committee. There's some robust debate on various issues, which is always good. And the agendas, you know, the admin's superb and the financial reports are great and the meetings are well run and we've got Barbara does a superb job and as Treasury Secretary and running things. So I think it's, I fully support the request for some support and some funds, and I think it's a great organisation. And well done, Barbara, for what you're doing.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on to confirmation of the minutes. I take it that we've all read them, and we shall happily accept them if all those in favour say. I'll move that we accept those minutes of the last meeting and take it as a true and correct record of our meeting.
I'll second it.
Thanks. All those in favour say aye. Carried. Just remind you of your declarations of interest. Have they all been completed as you requested?
I haven't had an opportunity of interest completed for approval.
So if you've got a request from Sarah and or Wayne to update your declarations of interest, please do so. Item 24.2.2. 2023, 2024 community grants applications, the second round. Welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you. Thank you. So this is the second round of our financial year community grants round, and we received the application closed on the 10th of March, and we received one application being from the museum that we just said Barbara speak to. Annually, you've got $5,000 budgeted to spend for community grants, and there is $2,726 left to distribute. So I've just got a couple of points in terms of we've advertised widely on social media and in the community notices, and there's also been a funding clinic in Alexandra and Cromwell. There's been a joint funding clinic held here in November that includes Central Lake Trust, the Tago Community Trust, often Aotearoa Gaming. I'm not sure what machines are in your pub here. Pub charity. So Steve, who speaks from Aotearoa Gaming, has quite a good overview of all of the gaming trusts. So I'm not sure if they'll come or not, but often they come. And often there's the AA. However, in April, there's going to be the Department of Internal Affairs and Tago Community Trust offering half-hour sessions to help people with funding applications. So they're often for large-scale projects like the pool or anything else that you know is happening in town. So that's coming up on I sent an email out yesterday to all members, but that's on the 18th of April between 9:30 and 1. So it's a really good opportunity if you know fundraising opportunities and that people are looking for support from lottery or from the community trust to utilise the time that, sorry, a little off topic, but sort of.
No, sure.
So, and then talking to the grant, Bob has done a great job of explaining the museum and their role in town, and I have recommended that they've applied for $2,000 and I've recommended that that be granted. If that answers your question.
Anyone got any questions? Yeah, Russell? No? Okay. So purpose of the report is to consider the second round of the community and promotion grant applications for 2023-2024. The recommendations are that this board receives the report and accepts the level of significance.
Free access to allocate 2,000.
Yeah.
So basically what.
Yeah, because he's just put for that. And with the grant. So that thing.
Confused me.
So that's how this works is you've only got one grant here, but it's because the amount that you give to each grant recipient is up to the board to make. So the staff don't put a recommendation in the paper about the amount. We give elected members the recommendation amount for you then for a starting point for a conversation. So if you're oversubscribed, you might say, actually, we need to reduce the museum by $1,000 and increase the cherry factory to $2,000. And so we don't put that wording in the grant recommendations, and it comes as a separate resolution that Sarah's got. So the resolution is that, in this case, that you don't need to make those decisions, and so you can just say that the recommendation is that you receive the report level of significance and allocate $2,000 to the
Right.
museum. But that's why there's that oddness with the wording in the recommendation.
So why wasn't that put in the agenda?
So we don't, so your staff don't put in a recommendation to how much you should fund. That's your decision as elected members.
Okay.
Is essentially what Rebecca's saying. So you may choose not to go with the $2,000 that Rebecca is suggesting. You may make a number different if you choose.
So we've been asked for $2,000 from our grants budget. Is there anyone that around the table that doesn't think that we should go down that path or has a different view before we take the vote on?
So, if we don't allocate all of our money, is that carried forward to next year?
That goes into the general review.
The Teviot Valley General?
Yeah.
Okay. So we keep it.
Can I just note, sorry, if there's a declaration, conflict.
With Mark, we thought you're a liaison and you don't vote in the person.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, nobody else does the loans, so
Yeah. Okay, so I move then that we allocate $2,000 of our grants budget to the museum as requested.
so voted in the recommendation, we do need to cover what it looks toward, but it's toward operational cost.
Yeah. Mm.
And then take a picture.
So we allocate $2,000 to the Teviot District Museum towards operational costs from the 2023-2024 community grants budget.
I'll see the next one.
Thank you. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Carried.
You're welcome.
Sorry about that. I miss it. Right. 24.2.3. The lawn mowing group.
Thank you.
Mowing of the grass verges.
The board will recall that during the pre-budget workshops where there was a bit of a discussion around our options with verges. So this paper is putting you some of those options, and there's probably a number of different options here added to the paper that you can think of. I didn't want the paper to be a war and peace. So we can discuss those later, but just a quick clarification before I continue, just on under finance. For the third last paragraph, the last two lines here don't make sense. It should read the additional 26,000, the average grass verge budget over the last 3 years has been reinstated other cost centers within the open space context in the 24-25 annual plan. So when we talk about the budget in the next paper, this has been redistributed into those papers, into other
areas.
yeah, but,
Okay.
yeah, and I'll explain what like that. Sorry about that. Yeah, so to continue this service would require, this following on, but to continue this service would require additional 20,000 to be added to the open space budget to ensure the existing levels of maintenance are maintained. As well as ensuring that the recently upgraded tracks and trails network that the board spent quite a bit of money on the last sort of couple of years is also maintained to the required standard. And I think we'll understand, given the inflation pressure we've experienced across the board over the last couple of years everywhere, the existing open space maintenance contract hasn't been exempt from that. So the budget, if grass verges are to be retained within that current budget, will need to provide additional money for that on top of what we're proposing in the current rate to retain for. Make sure that we are providing a fit for purpose service in the open space contract and what people are expecting.
Sorry, so can I clarify? Are you saying that the budget needs to be extended should we keep the mowing?
Yeah, so you could keep the budget the same. The budget, total budget is about 160,000 for the board.
Yeah.
And what we've done this year, what you're going to receive as part of the budget considerations shortly is that we have redistributed the 20,000 from the average of mowing the grass verges across some other cost centres, which we have been quite short in over the last few years, which is generally mowing, trail maintenance, tree maintenance, and I think that was the main three. And cemeteries, because we've taken on a couple of extra cemeteries since the last LTP, which are really cool. So we've redistributed that money across those. So if verges are kept, we'll need to fund those verges, but there are options of not owning them as often as we do at the moment, which will we can put less money back in, or if you want to keep the service that it is at the moment, you need to put something around 20 grand. So
So that 20 grand comes from you.
that's just rates. And it's not a targeted rate, correct me if I'm wrong, and it's not a targeted rate that's for the Roxburgh ward, Roxburgh residents, that's spread across all the rate payers of the Teviot.
So you're fine.
So if you're in a farm up in that road, you're also paying for that service.
So,
But not necessarily.
Sorry, carry on with your,
Yeah. I think so, yeah, so, yeah, have you answered? The paper outlines some options we can. Through cropping action.
So how many verges are there approximately that we mow?
you
Right.
counted them up?
is it just the names?
No, it's Main Street, all the streets, it's about every street, like a fast street is in Monster.
So does the mower just go and mow everything or?
Well, the mowing typically mows is in big focus. Although I've seen the report and it's true, and a lot of people do their own.
Yeah.
The mowing doesn't know who actually does their own, so if you miss one.
Yeah.
Then we get somebody say you missed my birch. So it's not a really good science thing.
Okay, so
It's either all or nothing, just about.
And I think just to add to this one, mate, this is the only water we provide the service
Right.
for at St. Natalia District
Yeah.
Council. And even if we went out a little bit further nationally, I'm not sure how many councils mow verges
Yeah.
nationally anymore.
Okay.
We did not mow verges in Upper Hutt.
Yeah.
I couldn't find any councils that do, and most of the policy, which I did a brief outline within the report on what the policy would be, yeah, council. by
Right.
policy.
So if there's 40 streets in Roxburgh, how many of those streets would have verges? Is it every street has a verge? Not every street, is it?
No,
It's not every street, the
No.
majority.
and it's not everyone within the town centre that has verge either. For example, I don't have a verge
Yeah.
at my place. It's not every.
No, but yeah, good.
And how often will they need to be mowed if we mow away?
Well, we wound that back to try and keep that budget down, so it should be mowing in about 3 or 4 weeks in now, maybe a bit more in the spring, maybe 2 weeks, it depends.
Yeah.
There's probably only one more mow to go this season, and it takes, when they do it, it takes about 4 hours to do it.
And by winding that back, it's only manage the cost pressures of mowing, that we've reduced the service to manage the cost pressures of it. So that they're only going to get more expensive. That number that Courtney's quoting to maintain it, I would imagine will continue to go north. Yeah,
So, I mean, back of the envelope calculation to me says that if we're mowing them once every 3 to 4 weeks, let's call it 4 weeks, that's once a month through September through, let's call it April. Be generous. So that's 6,
Maybe more,
8,
maybe 8 to 10 times,
sorry?
probably 8 to 10 times.
Yeah, and it's costing us $26,000. Isn't there a bigger issue here about the cost of mowing? Because we have still got a lot of grass to mow. King George
Yeah.
Park, the rugby grounds,
yeah. I mean,
everywhere.
that's still mowed as that's part of your open spaces contract.
Exactly,
Yeah,
but the
yeah.
cost of mowing just seems to be,
Yeah, and we mow those verges at the same time, so it might be more frequently in the spring, might be weekly, because in the spring, probably is weekly.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But isn't the real issue the cost of mowing?
Yep, and if you want to do
Because-
this or not for the verges,
Hmm?
I guess if you want to do it or not, continue that service or not.
So why,
But I mean,
that's what you want to know, why does it cost so much to mow?
well, it says to me that it's like $400 or $500 an hour. That be right? That
I
mower?
suggest that, I'd say.
If you say it's 10 times,
But if you for a day. Do you remember this here? Yeah, so he brings the mower down when he comes home. I'm sure that it's 2 days to do the whole town. So,
Well, in the report, it tells us that there's 4 hours of verge farm.
probably, yeah. Okay.
And we're saving $20,000.
So those are.
So 10 times 4 is 40.
Mm.
Divided into 20,000, says it's $500 an hour.
I guess you've got to take into all the other costs, normal transport and the mowing down here.
The point I'm making is that if we try and save 20 grand now, what actual value are we going to see deducted from the contract?
That's the board to decide where you would like that 20,000 that you
No,
go.
no. Is that a real saving?
So you're saying, is the contract 26,000 or is that an allocated figure?
Yeah. But
said we don't want to do
like
it.
at $500 an hour, that's ridiculous.
26,000.
So
But
what
that's what
we're
it's costing.
saying is over the last 3 years, we've ring fenced the cost, when the mowing operator does this mowing code with code, we've connected, and that's come up between $26,000 over those averagely over the last 3
Right.
years.
And his cost would be his time and some allocation of vehicle.
Appreciation, and we've got a contract, so there's profit on the contract that we have paid, so it's all factored in, health and safety.
So it's an
costs,
it's an external third party does it, not an
Does
employee.
Delta.
And then there's the, you asked about what the savings would be in the contract. So what I'm saying is that we can redistribute that across the contract, so you get a better service on those things that we are struggling. As we come here quite often and we are asked by the board members, why haven't we done this and why haven't we done that? And I've said in the paper, the staff have had to make calls on what we prioritise and to work on with the money that's allocated. We're generally spent that on things that are very visual, like mowing, spraying and gardening, whereas tracks and trees and things that we are not spending so much on, because we don't have the money, I guess, from, not as, for a certain period of time, we cannot do the work we need to do, but that's going to catch up and bite us shortly, because we know there's some work to do, and I think you
So
look at some trees.
what does it cost us an hour to mow those birds?
I can get to know that, I don't know how much money.
I think the second bit is a unique service. So you got this in the mower being used here. It's not probably one you usually use for mowing verges. It's a pretty big commercial mower that's designed for fields. It's designed to go up and down all the time. So because it's such a unique service that we don't offer it anywhere else, we don't have the specific equipment that we need. So it's probably not as efficient as what you're probably thinking if you've got the right mower to do a verge. And those kinds of costs do add up because it is so unique to the Teviot. And I guess that the question here today, is that a service that you'd still like to provide to your community, or redistribute those funds, or as Gordy has suggested, the funds are going to offset other costs in the ward?
Yeah, I guess we seem to have been fixated on the number of times. I think what we should be fixating, we're mowing it to a standard that's fit for purpose. And it could be 10 times it could be 2 times, but it's fit for purpose. So it's not long and we get in blank and it's not mowed within an inch of its life. So we have some middle ground there. That's the ultimate mode. And it depends on the rain. The season this year has been a bit better, but it's been a lot dry. The last 2 years we had quite a lot of rain, and stuff early on so we mow quite often. So I can pretty quickly work out how many times, but I think the cost is the cost and how many times we've done it.
I think the key there is you've got your annual cost, so you know your annual cost.
Yes.
Yes, regardless of how many times it's actually mowed, you know what your annual cost is. Yes, the hourly rate might be higher than what you might anticipate, but don't look at the hourly rate because that's really irrelevant to the overall.
Well,
But is the annual cost like for the Teviot, when you set the contract with Delta, do you go to Delta, right, what's the cost for Teviot Valley? And here's the works, what's the cost for that for Teviot Valley? Do you do that, or do you say, here's a big basket of stuff for the whole of CRDC to Delta, what's the cost?
No, so each board has its own budget for open space.
Right.
And that's what, we say the delta is 160,000, and we'd like.
You- you
the
spent
place to look
160,000.
like it's maintained.
Right, yeah, and
So
that,
we don't have, you have to mark in one or 3 times, have to mark, as I said before.
Yeah.
That was
to
purpose,
keep to
and if it's a regular ground, it needs to be like that, a creek ground.
Yeah.
So
And
they can do that.
I kind of agree with Woody that we're always coming up short to get stuff
Yeah.
done. So if we have someone in the community that wants some trees trimmed, or we want to, you know, fix it, we don't have any money for it. Can't
Yeah.
spend that budget
Yeah.
on mowing the grass edges, and we don't have budget to do other
Right.
things
Yeah.
that people are requesting.
so the verges are part of that bigger contract for the Teviot Valley, and you go and contract with Delta, or, and say, how much will it be? And their figure they give us is 160,000, and then you or one of your staff direct them as to priorities and urgency, and
That's right, and if we had no budget, but that money will be going somewhere else within that ward to,
The thing that worries me with cutting down on mine, I'm not talking about the side street bridge or anything like that, but you know, like it's definitely on the main road, is that when we get a dry summer, it's just going to serious fires, especially between Roxburgh and Lecture. And it's always so good to see those moments, especially when it's like dry.
But the Frame Rock Spring District isn't part of this service.
No,
Not
no,
all
that's-
but somebody,
Yeah.
somebody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that wouldn't
So that's,
Yeah, that
yeah,
wouldn't-
yeah,
That's
oh, that's the one I know.
So-
Yeah.
But it's just that, you know, that.
No, that
that's residential
Yeah.
streets in Roxburgh.
Right.
And the township.
It's just the
Yeah.
residential, and along the golf course.
Yeah, along with, so we mow, council mows in front of its property, which is the golf course, and.
Yeah.
Down.
and that'll carry on no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's part of the contract, yeah. So,
What we're saying is that the bird is outside people's places. They should, you know, community, responsibility pride, they should be able to do that. And I know there's old people that struggle to do that, you know, or they're not necessarily old either.
Yeah.
But, there are, you can get, some assistance from that through.
Yeah.
When you know that, if they're out.
so we've heard that generally there are no other councils in New Zealand that do it. We've heard that there are no other wards within this council that do it. We've heard that it doesn't get done in Nettrick and Miller's Flat in Roxburgh. So Roxburgh as a town, pretty unique in New Zealand, that it's getting its verges done. They must,
3/5 of this board that I think are paying for it and not getting it. That's representative of the district.
so it must have gone through there must have been a lot of, the previous situations where people have had their virtues mowed in the 70s by the council, and then they don't. And I guess the experience is people just get on with it.
Yeah, so I lived in Auckland at the time, Auckland City Council decided to stop mowing verges, and there was kick up for about 3 months, and then everyone just got on and mowed the verges.
They mowed their virgins.
The other,
It's normal.
the other thing is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it would also maybe be an opportunity for young kids to have like a little side hustle as well, that they could, you know, there could be some kids in Roxburgh that could start up a little mowing business, and they could get some money from mowing bridges.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm wondering if, you know, if this isn't actually a community position, what, you know, down that community and what they've done.
Okay,
Yeah, I guess the main comment to that would, a note in the annual plan document that would go out just around that slight change in service. It's probably a bit close to, because the proposal is that this wouldn't take effect until the annual plan will go.
Right.
Yeah, or sorry, not proposal, the options are.
It will affect from.
From my point of view, that'd be an easy decision to make if there wasn't a huge rates rise imminent. You know, the problem is that there's a huge rates rise imminent, and we're saying we're going to take away something that's quite publicly visible to to a part of the population.
Well, it's quite tangible for
Yeah, quite
everybody,
tangible, yeah.
but it's only for the Roxburgh Wine,
Yeah,
That do have a verge.
yeah.
the constituents.
Counter argument is you've got a huge rates rise and a lack of population is paying for something they don't get. Where's the equity in that?
Yeah.
And also it means that we can redistribute those funds and still maintain a level of service on other areas that we would probably end up with a decreased level of service, or we'd have to rate more for it. We'd have to put more money into it, therefore we'd rate more.
So I guess the line of questioning I had around the actual cost of the mine was making sure that we do realise the savings and they're not going to be swallowed up by the cost of mowing the rest of the reserves that we've got. You know, it's just operational efficiency says to me that if our hourly rate is exorbitant, we won't see those savings.
Going to talk to the savings, so some of the tracks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing that we can resolve here, but I just would like to think that we are on top of that,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, so I'm proposing that we put, about 6 grand into the general curve, not just in Roxburgh, but in the middle of space, you know, the 2 cemeteries, things like that we need to do. Another 6 into the trails, because we've got to, and this can be adjusted, but into trails, because we've got spent a fair bit of money on upgrading some of the bottom trails, actually. And I know there's going to be an expectation that they need to be maintained to perhaps a better standard than we've done in the past, and we haven't managed to do that. A little bit, 2 grand on horticulture, and that's mainly the street gardens and gardens and Teviot gardens there, and the few ones down in the middle of flat. And there's some in the cemeteries as well, and yeah, and some on about 5k on trees, and it's more on this, that 5k on this, because we are, as you know, struggle with busy times. It's a very busy place for people to stop and drop litter. And when you struggle with,
Easily.
we can take them, that's here, but so keep the standard of the business getting open, because it's sometimes an evening and 3 or 4 times a day on those busy weekends, and more over the summer and this in the winter, but we try to keep them so they're not overflowing, because you'll remember we used to get a lot of complaints with bins not being empty and overflowing. And now we're not putting more bins in, that people put more rubbish in the bins. We just kind of keep the same amount of bins, just get a more frequent in service on it, and emptying litter, they've got up. We take it from the bins and put it in the landfill. That's all those costs gone up.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Trying to distribute that, so we're not adding extra costs, we can do that with redistribution.
So we've been asked to receive the report and accept the level of significance and agree on an option for the mowing of verges in Roxburgh, and that's quite key in Roxburgh. The options that we've been given are option 1, the board ceases to fund the mowing verges in Roxburgh and redistributes the budget as already has just prescribed. Option 2, the board continues to fund the mowing of verges. Option 3, the board ceases to fund the mowing of verges in Roxburgh and redistributes the savings to other activities in the ward. How does that differ?
So that would mean you wouldn't be redistributing it to the open spaces contract, your tracks into your cemeteries and things. That would be to offset some of, so essentially it would go from, just using round numbers, 160,000 to 140, and you'd use that $20,000 as a bit of a rate saving for your residents.
Well, that's what option. Oh, no. The board ceases to fund mowing of verges in Roxburgh. Option 4.
That was the cemetery discussed, so the council owns netball ground has been, the lots of benefit. And ambulance for the middle step one.
And we could get coaches to come in.
Well, you know.
We went angling for middle state, I haven't heard about it.
I have,
Oh, right,
so,
okay, there's another one.
There might be another one.
but if it comes under your, you know, if it
Which-
comes under like council. Well, but we're the ones particularly. You know, we still have to, mow them out.
We might have spent anyway, I thought, yeah, we don't do,
And
we don't do burial.
but I mean, it was really, the park and mine is not that. Trees there, getting out.
So that's something we have to do.
So,
Yeah.
There's some really good examples of.
so
parks,
we're
but-
paying to keep land that council owns. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so looking at our options, I'll start with you, Mark. Have you got,
Yeah, I'd be running with option one, that we continue with the same expenditure within the Parks and Reserve budget, but it gets, that money gets redistributed within that budget and used for other Parks and Reserve purposes. That would be my vote.
Russell?
Yeah, to keep mine, I think. Keep mine Burgess as well.
So you say option two? Sure.
I think you should put this in the entry.
Taking, sorry?
I don't, you know, when it comes to the options, I think this is a community thing and people should be given the option of whether they want to have the emergency mode or not, and the possible solutions and give it to the community to get back to the board. So, you know, it's their decision, it's not ours.
With respect, the board has voted in to make decisions, this is $20,000, you can't consult.
Exactly.
But, you know, there's 600 litter boxes in the valley, it's not hard to.
This is a benefit to the residents of Roxburgh as opposed to the residents of the valley.
But that's, yeah, well, the people of Roxburgh should make the decision.
I think the $20,000, it's, well focused and stuff.
As David noted earlier as well, it will be or can be noted in the annual plan document, which is a consultation document to the community. So the community has the option to feedback at that point.
Okay, right.
Although, if I may, Chair, that annual plan will be talking about the big cost flowing through the council. If we were to put in every cost that associates around $20,000, it would be the size of the Britannica Encyclopedia. And we don't want that. So we, you know, so I think there's a level of, there is a sensible way forward. I'm not quite sure we want to be consulting on things that really want to make a decision.
But if it becomes an issue for the community, they have the option to raise it, should they
Their
wish,
opportunity to make a submission. Yeah.
even though it's not necessarily listed.
Might not be listening to
Okay. Okay, Carol?
On option one.
Okay. So in order to proceed from here, we decide.
So you haven't decided what option you would like to go for, but if someone wants to put forward a motion with one of those options, and then see if it progresses, it seems that option one has two members supporting it. You can have a mover and a seconder and then take it on.
Okay, so I'll move that we support option one. Do I have a second?
Yep, second.
And we'll take a vote on that. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Against. Karen.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, moving on, we have Donna talking about the financial report for the period ending 31 December 2023. Seems like a lifetime ago.
Unfortunately, we don't have, meetings normally that align with our financial, ending. It's a bit of a shame. So take the paper as being read. So the financial report 31st of December 2023, there was an unfavourable operating variance of $28,000 against the revised budget. Revenue has a favourable variance of $59,000, with the variances being driven from internal interest revenue received on surplus reserve balances and the timing of the rates of income budget. Expenditure has an unfavourable variance of $87,000, with contracts leaving left with an unfavourable variance of $69,000. This is mainly due to the replanting of the Rockford forestry block, and also the tree removal as the rock was pulled. These are being funded through reserves, based on previous decisions made by the board. The grant variance is due to the timing of the Rockford Hall operating grant of $35,000, which was uplifted in November, while the budget is spread over 12 months. The capital expenditure has a favourable variance of $327,000. The main project contributing to this variance is the Rockford Entertainment Centre, with the fire upgrade project. And I believe we have an update on this meeting on that one. The end of the team.
I do just have one question around the, maybe the planting for forestry block, actually, that's 69K. But we did get income from that when we sold the trees, so
that's sitting in the junior year good,
right,
and so that will come to that.
yeah.
So that has been accounted for.
I've got some questions that, just to further my knowledge on the structure of it all and what's in it rather than what has been spent. And it's the same questions that I would ask in the following section relating to the new year's plan. So the rates expense that we've got here of 14 or 12,000, what buildings or land is rated? Is it in general?
Off the tip of my head, I couldn't actually tell you, but it will be properties that are owned by the board and council.
Right.
And they'll have services attached to them. Like
So, for example, this building here will have some rates, and so that's what that is. So any town hall owned by the council or tennis court or whatever, anything that attracts rates, and it's put in here. Okay, understand. Now the next one of cost allocations, which is almost our biggest one, it's a bit of a vanilla description.
It is a very vanilla description, and I would like to change it to things like that for even a day. And that is your overhead cost. So that's the cost of running the finance team, the office team,
Okay.
and your general council.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you determine how much? So this is only the Teviot Valley share. How do you determine what our share is? Why isn't it $1 million or why isn't it $20?
So as part of the long-term plan process, there's generally an assessment of how the overheads are allocated.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I haven't been part of
No,
that process in my time at the council, so I don't know who makes those. I would assume that the group management would be involved in that conversation, and it would go through to the council.
Yeah, so we know what the overhead costs.
Yeah.
There's an overhead cost for that iPad now.
Yeah.
The cybersecurity systems we have to put into the licenses that enable you to access stuff.
Yeah.
That is all a cost to the business that we don't capture that cost directly from a rate card, because it's not like if you mine lawns, you rate your rate card directly from over lawns.
Yeah.
These are all the costs that contribute to what the business does, we capture it and then we have to apportion it
Yes.
across the business. Where, you know, in a way that it's fair and even.
So how do you determine that it is fair? I mean, is that population based or?
No, it's got nothing to do with the population of the valleys, it's where the staff effort is and those sorts of things.
To give you an example, the IES charges are distributed on devices, that are used in special areas.
Yeah.
The children's devices, book house.
Yeah. Okay.
So there are community boards in that area that have sort of a number for those cost allocations. Change the very based on the requirement.
So it's an effort-based allocation.
Yeah, so there's quite a mixture of character items. So it's the IES one is based on devices. There are some that are based on full-time equivalent employees, and then there's some based on costs.
Okay. So in this paper, it's called cost allocations, and in the annual plan budget, it's called overhead costs. Right. The next one of other costs, again, that's somewhat vanilla description. And I noticed in the second paper, it's called operating costs.
Oh, you could
Yeah.
bring her.
Do we know what that 42,000 is, or 67,000? Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then building repairs and maintenance is 24,000 for the year. That doesn't seem to appear in the annual plan.
It might be getting slide after another event, so I just do that one.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
what's that on? Billboard for some years, 16,000.
Yeah, 16,000 so far. 24,000 for the year, but it just doesn't seem to appear in this. So I'm on 21, on 61.
Maybe perhaps I bring Vibhuti in and she might be able to answer some of your questions.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the question about building and maintenance that you're asking is covered under maintenance. One of the two maintenance costs or operating costs in the annual plan budget. So that's a more rolled up version of it. So it's within those two. Yeah.
I don't think so. I think it's just a spare. It's just, I'm not just.
I can have a look into that with you and I can send something out to the.
If you look down the far left-hand side, so that the 624,000 of the total expenditure is 624,983 on the page 61. And on the right hand, on the page 21, it's 651, and the 24,000 sort of disappeared.
Yes, so the repairs and maintenance will be included in that maintenance cost, and there is possibly some of those costs also included in the operating.
Yeah, well.
Wow. Would you like to be the same? We do have different ways of reporting.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
one being at the council and community board level, and one actually being at a financial level. So there is a little bit of cross contamination, and at one point in time there was a decision to break down the community board and the councils into a different level to what we actually put in our annual reports and FPs and long-term plans. So there is a difference between accounting requirements for our reporting policies, and then also we provide the EU.
yeah. Yeah,
It's a little bit confusing.
it's just wrong. The total should be the same. Doesn't matter how, if you've redistributed or reallocated that cost, the total at the bottom, you know, if it's gone into a different bucket, the figure should be the same.
There will be probably a bit of rounding as well.
Not 24. Yeah, I understand that. Not 24,000.
So you'll notice that the annual plan information is provided to you in full. So it is 624,983.
Yeah.
Okay. In the community report, we report in the thousands, which has gone up to 626,000, which is a bit of rounding.
Okay.
Rounding of 1,000.
Okay.
So it does make it a little bit tricky, but understanding that the headings are different in each report,
Okay.
we can work towards continuity of our revision headings in the future. That would be important.
So the column that's on the right hand side here of full year revised budget is different to the annual plan column in the, I thought they were supposed to be the same.
So the annual plan column on your community board financial report goes to the annual plan documents. On the left hand side, sorry, left and right, is the annual plan budget, with the right hand side one being a revised budget. So the revised budget is different to the annual plan, as we either carry forward expenditure that was spent in previous years, or we've forecasted that we are actually going to overspend. So there has been some adjustments made to those plans. And the decision has been made, those adjustments.
Just don't get it. The annual plan column is 571,788 on page 61 for the income, and the costs are 624,983. This paper on page 21, you've got the equivalent number for income, but the expenses are total is difference by an amount of around 24,000, which is the building and repairs and maintenance. Everything else matches.
Sorry, you're talking about the annual plan. You referred to page 61, did you?
Yeah, the difference between page 61 and 21.
You have two different years. So we're talking about the annual plan.
23,
24.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Total income 571,788. And in page 21, it's 572,000. And the figures match all the way down. Spent a long time looking at this last one. And then when you get to the bottom of the expenditure of the annual plan, it's 625, and this is 651.
I think, sorry, yeah, that is correct. There are two differences there.
So I'm saying that figure there should equal that figure there.
Okay.
It does here. And it does all of these equal. That one's gone.
Yes, so that one there is, if we're adding the sake, maybe, but that one there is different from that one there.
Yeah, I see it, yeah.
That is your annual plan. This is our revised forecast. So these will be different if there's been adjustments made by staff members, which has been approved by council to a change a cost. So this one here does match within rounding, of course,
I see.
the annual plan figure.
Yeah.
And this one here is the revised budget. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, which is why we do report.
Yep. Okay, I understand. Thank you. That's the difference. Yeah. Right. And the depreciation is on what?
Appreciation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you'll see in our revenue and financing, what we depreciate all our assets that everything
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah,
depreciated, so, and at
Understand.
a standard.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
listed in the LGP
Yeah,
as well.
And so with the 142,000 depreciation, where does that figure go? What's the other side of that equation?
Good question.
Does it go into reserves or does it go?
It does, presently it goes into, and I'll let the booty answer that, but it goes into reserves.
Yes, it does. You know how depreciation works. What you're doing is accumulating funding for future renewals, so it does work through your reserves.
Into Teviot Valley reserves?
Yes, I would say.
Or district-wide,
It would depend on.
it's
So it's a council owned facility, this is district wide.
Yeah.
Then it's district wide, but if it's a Teviot owned, then it'd be in your ward.
Yeah.
So there will be, as an example, if I can just pick one example, let's just say some IT assets are going to get depreciated. That depreciation will run off overall council depreciation.
So the
Can I
depreciation
just,
should be going.
sorry.
Depreciation should be going onto page 25, which is a summary of the reserves. The depreciation goes into either column B or column E. Oh, sorry, it goes into column E. Is that what you're saying? On page 25.
And it will go into the reserve if it's been rated from.
Yeah, yeah. So either within the full council reserve, or if it's a valley specific asset that's being depreciated, it will go into column E.
Column E, no.
Direct referral, but it will definitely go through either column E or offset column F, which is your capex or unfunded costs go through those reserves.
So if it's the entertainment center, just as one other example, if that's being depreciated, it'll go through that particular line. If not, yeah, so that's how that works. I was just going to say earlier that there is a bit of work that we have to do in terms of clearing what exactly the reserves are, how those movements are working right through. So that's a piece of work that internal loans, internal interest, all of these are linked together. So that's a piece of work that we'll be doing some specific work on in preparation for the long-term plan. So it's not exactly clear. Typically, you would see a depreciation reserve sitting separately. I mean, it just doesn't seem to be appearing in these. Yeah, just to keep it clear, but that's not quite how these are working at the moment.
Okay. Has anyone else got any more questions, or you got anything else you want to tell us about?
And not in terms of the December financial report, no, I'm sure there'll be a bit more in the minutes.
Thanks, Don.
It's all right. Just a thought, would you like a little bit more of a continuity of the figures? It's the operating costs and the maintenance costs.
Yeah. It would be good if they use the same term for the same line. Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Okay, so we need to receive that report. We need to move it.
Yes, please. Yeah.
I move that we receive the financial report for the period 31 December 23. All those in favour say aye. Oh, I need a seconder actually, sorry.
Oh, I'll second it.
All those in favour say aye. Say no. Carried. Okay, so voted, we've got Dion Dollar again. on the 24-25 annual plan budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sorry,
Sorry.
take it, that the board has read the report and have got questions, or are we seeking some sort of explanation as to the purpose of this report?
The Booty's probably got some introductory remarks which might help shape the discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, just a few things. I will take the report as read, but just point to perhaps 2 or 3 things. So I don't think it's any surprise about the increase in costs across various areas. It's outlined in the report as well. In particular, insurance, interest costs, these are the big costs that are coming through to council. Fuel costs, energy costs, those sorts of things. Cybersecurity that has been mentioned before. So that's what's raising the cost profile for council. There are some corresponding increases in revenue other than rates. So that's just a more overarching statement as to where the 108K of rates increases are coming from. I just want to draw the board's attention to the fact that there has been a request to increase grant funds by 5,000, which is about 1% in terms of the ward rates. So just that's for the board to decide today whether you want to put that through or not. Yeah, and there are some increases in fees that I'm sure you'll consider as part of this. So yeah, happy to take any questions.
If I may just add to that grants piece from the Booty, obviously as you saw today, your grants are not being oversubscribed. You're not getting more than what the current grant pot is. So you run the risk of overrating your residents for something that's not actually being used. So just consider that in your thinking.
So I'll start with you, Sally. Have you got any?
Just in terms of the grants budget, as nice as it would be to increase it, the whole time that I've been on the community board, we've never been oversubscribed, and we are in a year that we are putting the rates up a lot. So I think we do need to consider if we want to increase that grants budget by 5,000, which is another 1% on rates, if that grant isn't being oversubscribed currently.
It makes sense, doesn't it? But if things are going to, if things are going to hit financially really hard, do you think maybe some backgrounds, people might be looking for?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy for it to be increased. I think it's an opportunity for us to do something a bit more tangible for the community and be able to be seen to be helping. It's one of the few things where you can actually do something. And I think rather than waiting for applications to come in, it will give us some more opportunity to go out there and say, hey, how about we do this? Why don't we suggest to them they ask for a grant, because we could do this. At the moment, with only 5,000, it's almost nothing. So if we had more, then we could do more. And yes, it would be an increase in rates. It's a $3 per rating unit. I don't know if that's 1%, but it's $3 on top of a total of 3,000 rates was probably closer to 0.1%. But so I would like to see us increase that to from 5 to 10. Bear in mind that other wards who theirs is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars of grants,
and they rate their residents for that.
Exactly. But the difference between 5,000 and 150,000 is quite a bit, or more.
Just, Rebecca, do you want to clarify the grant pots for the other wards?
Yeah.
Sorry.
72 minutes, that's what we have.
Okay, good. Because you're not quite as large as that. just to get relevance to the conversation.
In the bigger conversation we were having earlier in the year around delegation, it became quite apparent that the grants budget was the only delegation that we were going to end up with. And I think that was one of the drivers for us to increase our grants budget, or our agreement to increase grants budget, is that it gave us a level of confidence that we could still, I guess, influence input into the community in some way. I would be reluctant to support that grants budget increase being taken away.
Rebecca has those numbers.
So Cromwell has 49,925. These are the community grant pots. So Cromwell's 49,925, running photos 15,000, Teviot's 5,000, Vincent's 120, and council 150. Promotions grants is 106,224 for Cromwell, 5,000 for Manitoba, 2,000 for Teviot, 41,750 for Vincent, and council not have.
So if I'm correct, our grant allocation or our grant budget is 2% of our rates charge. Is that right? Is that what you're saying?
Of the total rates charge,
Yeah.
if you're getting charged 3,000 for your rates. The budget at the moment is 5,000.
Yeah,
There are 1,600 odd ratepayers,
yeah, and we want
rating units. That's $3 per rating unit. And if you add another 5,000, that's another $3 per rating unit. That'll take it up to $6 instead of $3.
But someone was saying before that $5,000 increase reflects the duty.
1%.
1%.
It's 1% of the Teviot ward rate, but the Teviot ward rate is only a very small part of the total rate that someone gets charged.
Exactly.
So if someone gets charged 3,000, they don't really care whether, the community don't really know whether it's from the bigger CODC pot or whether it's from the Teviot Valley pot.
Yeah.
If you said that the total rate is 3,000, the effect of a $5,000 grant is that if you spread that $5,000 grant over 1,600 rating units, whether they be residential or commercial or farming, that's an extra $3 per rating unit.
Yeah.
So the 3,000 rates will go to $3,003.
Yeah.
I don't want to split hairs, but I think the grant budget goes over as a charge, and so that's 1,140 properties that it gets charged over because it's a standard charge. So it's $4 something. Doesn't make too much of a difference in your overall rates. You're absolutely right. And so if you're comparing it to overall rates, then the overall rates for council are close to 53 million. So you're talking about 5,000 to 53 million if you're going to do that comparison of $3,000 of rates. But so I was talking in the context of what's charged for Teviot Valley residents through those rates. And that's 520,000, give or take. And so that's about 1%. When you say 5,000, take that out.
Okay, understand. So in terms of rating units, you said there's 1,100, what was the term you used? 1,100 chargeable rating units?
Yeah, that's right. So there are couple of different charges that you levy. So there is a charge, which is a fixed rate on properties. And then there is rates, which is on capital value. So 1,140 chargeable units. And you're right, I think about 1,600. I'll have to look at the exact number. 1,600, is it? Yeah. Yeah,
That's
about six. Sorry. Yeah, that is correct. So 1,100 properties get charged a fixed rate. And a good way to look at that is your recreation and culture charge, because that's the charge that goes over properties that get a fixed rate. and that's 1140 properties. Well, that's what it was. That is what it is as of now. And then, of course, whenever we do the, year ending, we'll have some other properties added on to that. If the growth is,
Yeah, understand. So what would the difference, the difference between 1140 and 1600, in other words, 460 units, what are those properties? What are they?
I'm a little bit fuzzy on all of the details, sorry, not having been there very long, but Donna, would you have, the ward services rate and the ward services charge has two different, number of properties? Off the top of your head, would you be able to say what the difference would be?
The possibility is that you might have two sections that you own. One is where the abode might be, but the other one might just be land. So we would attach a fixed charge to the one with the abode on, but the land would be included as a value base because you'll have no services generally through that section.
Okay.
So the next on page 63, you split out between ward services charge, for which there are ward services charge is 1600 units or 1140. I'm confused.
Charge is 1140.
It's 1140.
Yeah.
And ward services rate is 1600.
Yes.
Around him.
Yes, somewhere there. Yeah. Might be less actually, because I can't see that big a difference coming from that. So it could be less. I just sorry don't have the numbers offhand. I just know the charge one.
Okay. I think we've always had in the back of our minds 1600 in the past.
1600 is a number that I've got from Manitoto. So I think Teviot is less than that. Yeah, but sorry, I like I say.
Okay, has anyone got more questions?
So I have on page 62 in the Miller's Flat pool charge, that's going up from 37,000 to 53,000. Now, but the pool don't get paid 37,000 or 53,000. The Miller's Flat pool gets 15 or 18,000 or something.
This is the next year annual plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, costs have gone up, so.
But this year's plan is 37,000. But the Miller's Flat pool, as I understand it from their financial accounts, they get 17,000.
That's for an increase over annual plan because their costs have gone up as well for chemicals, for the oil they use for the boiler, for maintenance, around pool painting, things like that. So that's many amounts for those figures.
Oh.
There'll be some costs for the Miller's Flat pool that the pool pays directly, and there'll be some costs that are, I presume, paid to the council. So,
Yeah.
so you have 17 reflected in that, which, hey, yeah, you use this to pay for that. But there'll also be, I don't know what it might be, there'll be some costs that is operating.
Operating maintenance. Council give them and they spend that on there, and I don't know what they've done themselves.
Yeah, so what they pay for chlorine and electricity, that there are no costs, running costs that happen that the council pay for, as far as I know.
Give them that money.
Yeah, that's right. So they pay for chlorine and electricity and gas and all the rest of it. Yeah, it's all that they pay for all of that, and they receive 17,000, and this is 37,000. So there's a nearly $20,000 difference there.
So I'm sure the costs you just mentioned are all operating costs. There would be overheads associated with pools. So that I don't think the overheads would be given to that committee, or you know, the
Okay.
maintenance, so that would be what it is. There'd be some depreciation charge, which won't be given to them. So that 17,000 to me sounds more like an operating cost number as opposed to total
Yes, okay.
costs.
I understand. Okay, no, that explains it. So it's going from, so the difference is 20,000. Wow.
Yeah, so like,
So, yeah, so a 20,000 figure of internally absorbed costs, shall we say, by the council, is going to become a 35,000. So the rate, the increase is enormous.
Can I ask what the Teviot halls are? It may have been mentioned or missed it. There's, again, the same page mark was on community halls. Teviot have gone up from 3.5 to 13.8, 74% increase. I'm just wondering if that is actually reflected. I haven't picked up on that.
Sorry, Tim, was there a question there?
Yeah, sorry, Vibuti. Again, on page 62, community halls Teviot has increased by 10,279 or 74%. I'm just wondering what that actually relates to.
Sure.
So the increase for that is because it is actually in deficit, that cost centre. So there is an increase in the internal interest expense on that one, as well as inflationary costs for operating costs. And there will be rates increases as well.
And I think the annual plan also did some rates adjustments for that, which we have taken out because it's a cost centre in deficit.
Chair, can I optimise the middle flat increases if you want? Or keep that on there. So this is from Jerry and Ray. So we used to give a grant for the oil burner of 2,200, and last year the cost was 7,100. So they've asked us to cover that cost. The chemicals were used to give them 2,700, and the actual last year was 11,600. And they've asked for a bit of extra maintenance for 8,000 for painting and another 15,000 for some other building works. And again, the electricity's gone up by $2.5 grand. So that's where those costs have come from. So she's trying to reflect the actual operating costs, and they've asked council to cover those increases. Yes, that's not being reflected in the budget.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. I've got another question on the ward services rate on page 63. It says it's to fund community board elected members' costs of $100,000. How does that number get? Where does that? Because obviously that number comes from somewhere else. Because we don't get.
We talked about this at the beginning of the training, and we had quite a detailed discussion about this.
So this is the catch-all for everything that costs to run this community board. So the expenses of the governance team, of your devices, it's those that conversation we had before. And had it, as you say, Sally, at the start of the training to understand what that was. So Susan gave a breakdown of how that is all put together.
I think it's more the title of it that people are concerned with. It gives the impression that.
We can clarify that it's not the case.
I think it's important to clarify it is not elected member salaries, that's for sure.
Okay. And the planned again on 63, it said the planned LTP rate movement. We're talking about that's the total levied. It's the total. It's not a move. It's the amount of.
That's correct.
Rates,
rates
levied. So it's not a rate movement of 520,000. It's a rate. The total amount of LTP ward rates levied.
That's correct. Apologies.
But that word shouldn't really be movement. That should scare people if it's going up by 520,000.
No, the variance is 108,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
Made a contribution.
So the total figure that we're proposing is
628,549.
yeah, and that gives us a surplus. Where is it? Oh, that gives us a surplus of 65,000. I seem to have in the back of my head. I don't know where the piece of paper is, but
That is correct, and that is your depreciation from the pay for your capital expenditure. That is the depreciation that's been funded and it will flow through to pay for your capital expenditure.
That's not actually cash. Surplus.
It's not actually cash, no. So the P&L unfortunately doesn't include the capital expenditure, but it's also an outgoing.
So is that like the upgrade of the entertainment centre?
Yes.
So you're looking at page 61 there for that number, 65? That the surplus you were looking for? Yep.
yeah, thank you. I was lost. You found me. Yeah, so the $65,000 surplus. Yeah. But depreciation is in there.
It is in there. There is also the repayment of your loans. So there is the core grant as well that is being repaid, which increases your revenue. Your internal interest revenue also drops to your reserve surplus accounts, surplus reserve accounts, and that increases the cash flow into like your endowment land and your general reserve services.
So on the reserves thing on page 25, we mentioned before that some of the transfers in column B are depreciation, but there should be some rates coming in there as well, should there?
Right, so you'll have.
Sorry, go Donna.
So you go. So you'll have your internal interest revenue will be going through as incoming. Any grants, contributions that you've received for any of your, that have been planned for any of your activities also go through in that column. And any reserves contributions that are received from development, building, of houses and uses.
The rates that go through are any rate surpluses that you might have, which I don't think you had as of that date. I thought so I'm just going further up on that report. Yeah, the variance was 21,000, but we still have the end of year budget at 521. So I don't think, or there could be. Sorry, I shouldn't say there won't be. If there are rate surplus, it will go through. So the reserves have depreciation that goes through and any operating surpluses or operating deficits. So all of that goes through your reserves. And then, of course, internal interest charged for any deficit reserves.
Then on the page 65 being the budget of capital expenditure, this excludes carried forwards, I presume, does it?
Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So of jobs sort of on the books that are reasonably new, we've got a total of 88,000 of 83,000 of expenditure in the coming year.
83,000 was what was planned in your LTP year 4. So when you did that plan way back in 2020, 21, currently it's 88.
The increase in $5,000 was the invoice.
Yeah. Oh. So, must be a pretty happy community. I'd imagine that that bottom figure there of capital expenditure for the coming year would be a little bit higher in some of the other wards.
Considerably,
Yeah.
in the tens of millions.
Yes, exactly. I was being a little bit facetious. We're spending 88,000 and some people are spending tens of millions. So the back page is where the rubber hits the road. 66. There's some fairly hefty numbers there. $1,000 a. There's. Okay.
The increases, I mean, they vary property by property. So. And this is broken down into types. Property. The catch-all.
So, Russell, your place is going to go up by $900, Stuart, I think.
What?
The rates for you, your place is going to go up by $900.
Go up one.
Yes.
Yeah, you can pay your rates next year.
That's what we're, this is what we're talking about here. Just to wake you up.
Well, the 2,500 at the moment.
Exactly.
It's 3-4.
Exactly. That's got an example here of your place. It says a similar place, 2,656, and it's going to be 3,558 if we agree to this.
Well, I don't agree.
Well, that's the seriousness of what we're talking about.
Value go up, so, because they've been up disproportionately high, so I was talking to an old guy there yesterday, and his rate's now going to cost him over $4,000 a year, he's got no idea where the money's going to come from, and they get no services.
There's no rates that are $4,000 a year.
Miller's flat went up, because we were asked at the coffee morning, so I looked into it. Last year, for whatever reasons, the Miller's flat land values skyrocketed.
Yeah, they do.
Down by about 300%, and that just causes it. The proportion of the rates therefore goes up. I'm sure if anyone can be happy with a 16% indicative rise, though, there's
it'll be because most of them don't have sewage in the council sewage and don't have council water.
Yeah, they're not getting caught up in the three waters.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
The lead change is only 16%.
But the big jump that they did.
Right, he was going on to what was in the newspaper.
Right.
And he's worked it out.
Yeah, so
That's
10%.
That's
Go back and find that he's, if you're not connected to the Three Waters network, and you can see Roxburgh Farm there, 14%, or Large Farms, 14%, you're not getting cleaned up by those massive increased costs.
Yeah, awesome, thank you.
And can I just add that when we do go out for consultation, we do put on our website individual rates, so people can actually go and look at their individual properties just to see where they might look.
Yeah, it better be very helpful, I think.
Yeah, these are indicative only.
So the land value impact on rates occurred last year.
Yeah, every 3 years, the quantity value, what do we call that person, the QV?
Yeah.
But the gentleman has the responsibility, or a lady, I'm not sure who gets it, every 3 years, they have to value all councils and all residents.
Yeah.
And it's on a cycle that they set, and then once they implement it, then we have to work through, notify, people can object, and then it flows through to.
So if we look at the impact that increased last year on people's rates, do we understand what that cost to the ratepayer might have been?
Yes, we do, because we have to build them based on that value. So we do have an understanding.
Was it 5%? Was it 10%?
Well, it does,
Look at
I mean, it varies.
last year's version of this table in front of it.
Yeah, but it varies by property. So I can't tell you what a percentage.
I know damn well it does.
Yeah.
But so like last year, the ratepayer was hit with an increase based on property value of approximately 15%, 10%.
Depends where they were.
Just depends. So on the land value and CV, they add up.
So the cumulative effect of what we're telling them through this annual plan budget is not just the number that we're seeing in this table now. In the last 2 years, it could be seen to have been,
Well,
for example, if you look at a Roxburgh residence, it could be 35+% or 34+.
if you equate it over 2 years or 3 years, well, that's right. I mean, if you go back over 10 years, it's likely to be 55%. So I don't know what that number is.
So in any financial planning, we look forward. So last year we had an increase, this year we get an increase. What are we looking at next year?
Well, can't tell you that right now because we've deferred the long-term plan, and the long-term plan enabled us with a level of certainty to what the rates will be over the 10 years. We're doing an enhanced annual plan, so we've only looked to the next financial year horizon. Later on this year, we'll kick off the long-term plan discussion again, and we'll work through that. And what does it mean from 2025 onwards to 2034? What's the anticipated rates increase going to be in those years? We'll definitely have that information for that process, but we don't. I couldn't tell you with any degree of certainty what 25, 26, 27 rates are going to be right now. I would just expect.
It makes me uneasy. It makes me really uneasy.
I know, but the reality is with the annual plan process, it doesn't enable us to look forward to do that level of detail because we just haven't done it.
But the QV change, if your property went up by 100,000, doesn't mean you say your rates are going to go up. Because everyone's might have gone up by 100,000.
It's really important.
It's just a percentage. But if everyone's QV goes up by 10%, then that would have no impact on rates whatsoever. But if yours goes up by 20 and mine goes up by 5, that'll mean my rates based on that would go down a little bit and yours would go up. It's percentage wise.
It's the same rate.
Yeah.
It's your share of the $55 million.
Yeah.
Just Norm, last year, Miller's Plate went up 20%, Roxburgh Commercial 7, Roxburgh Hotel 15, Roxburgh Orchard 19, Roxburgh Farm 10, Roxburgh Large Farm 11, Roxburgh Residence 10, Roxburgh Rural Industry 8, and it's in the 23rd of March Teviot Community Board.
So Roxburgh Residence was 10 and this year it's 34, and then last year, Miller's Plate got it.
And from the board's perspective, you're 1% of that. It's the council table where the bulk of us sit at, and we have to sit and look. And I think it's really important. It's been mentioned today, but when staff started looking at the rates increase in February, it was 45.5%. So when people say cut your cloth, I say then we're down to our skimpies as it is. There's not a lot left to cut, so it's an absolute bitter pill to swallow. But unless we're going to cut services, and I don't know what services we could actually cut, or unless we're going to say, as some councils are, we'll fund our depreciation at 60% instead of 100%, which is simply saying tomorrow can pay for it so that I'm happy today. And as a fundamental proposition, generally speaking, the council has said, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to pass the buck on. We argue we'll pass the buck on to the next generation, enough as it is. And then you've got your three waters costs. We've got no choice over it. If we don't do what we've been told to do, we'll get fined and we'll get punished. We've got bridges that are falling down, and 2015 the depreciation for bridges was cut to keep the ratepayer happy. Now the ratepayer in 2024 is not going to be happy about that, is it? So there is no easy way around this, and every council in the country that is doing a refrain, every council in the country is facing significant rates increases, or they're finding ways, such as selling assets, or in some cases cutting depreciation to keep those levels down. we don't have assets we can easily sell to get yesterday to pay for today in some regards, and we're not willing to slash and burn our depreciation accounts. It's a very easy way to hide the reality of what we're facing. We're not willing to do that. So 98.9% of what the Teviot Valley is facing is councils doing, in essence.
Well, I mean, I don't disagree with the word you said. I just think it's better to start the conversation more holistically, because people don't want to be hit with surprises.
I told the public in November last year it was going to be between 20 and 30%. Made it really
This year.
November last year. That was,
But
yeah.
the rates wise,
Yeah, because we knew it was coming. We didn't know how much, and as it turned out, there was some very good guesstimating, 20 to 30%.
Yeah.
At the moment, we're pretty much bang in the middle.
I thought Bruce Robertson had said that to all councils he'd been on, that you're going to raise your rates by 30%.
Yeah, so Bruce Robertson's now our chair of audit and risk, but he spoke at rural and provincial in November last year, and then at Metro, and he started with rural and provincial, and I presume Metro the same thing. You all need to raise your rates by 30%. You need to look around the room now and promise each other that you'll do it, because some of you will hide it and others won't. And those that don't hide it, the honest ones, are probably going to pay the price for it.
yeah.
There was quite unquote. Well, sorry, not verbatim, but yeah, the whole country's facing this.
Yeah, these discussions put things into context way more than looking at a budget in its isolation.
It's absolutely horrible. I've been there 7.5 years, and I never dreamt for a moment I'd be talking about putting our rates up by 24%. But I've also had times where, I can look at decisions we made around the council table, particularly around COVID, where we probably kept the rates, or we definitely kept the rates lower than they should have been. There's a bit of catch up on that. And then there's external things, interest rates, insurance, $400,000 more a year in insurance. We're already, there are some things we don't insure. There are movements that we've made in terms of how much you gamble with your excess and things like that.
Self-insured.
But it's insurance cover going to court, like when councils take it to court over disagreement, is that part?
Generally not.
That's a step.
Oh, well, sometimes our insurance agency may, they may go to court on a particular point on our behalf, because that's not, because if we're insured, there might be a liability that falls on the insurance, but and the ones that have come to me.
And why is interest rate so high? Because I thought that the borrowing with LGFA was because the interest rates with the LGFA were cheap.
They are. The LGFA rates are cheaper than the market rates, but this council, because it had no borrowing up to probably the previous LTP, and it's just gone into borrowing, so what, 25 millers or thereabouts, we've jumped into the market, LGFA, at the highest rate, at 6.07%. And actually, Bruce Robinson mentioned that. He said that was really high. And the reason that's high is because our capital program has started to flow over the last few years, and we've now loan funded it, but we've loan funded it at the highest peak in the market. Now, the good news is we do anticipate that interest rates are going to come down. And so it's going forward with the large capital spend, not so much here in Teviot at 88,000, but across the district, there is a large capex spend coming. Likely that will have slightly smaller rates, but our interest cost is still considerable.
But it was a timing thing. If we'd entered the market at that time to pay for it, the last part of it was like Dunstan water supply. If we'd gone to the market instead of LGFA, we'd be paying even more. It was just the timing.
Yeah.
Couldn't have been worse. But on the flip side, and the electricity is a good example. We entered into a 3-year electricity contract back when TY looked like it was tipping over. So a big part of our electricity jump is actually because we did really well 3 years ago. The timing is good for us.
The regional council rates, mine have gone from $20 to 200.
Yeah.
And their staff is now 330. It's gone up 10% in the last year. God knows what they all do. They run the buses in Dunedin. In Queenstown, it seems to me to be a total joke. Why doesn't Dunedin run its own bloody bus?
Now, you need to write to your regional council and have that conversation.
I've written to them.
Okay.
I've talked to them.
Lots.
And it could be argued, Russell, that the reason that the regional council rates have gone up so high is that they didn't run at all. back 5 years ago, we're now being made to do things. So, I mean, there's still amongst, I looked at it the other day, I think regional council for a table is still the lowest rates of anybody in the country. So
in my view, we don't need a regional council. We've got you guys and Dunedin Council, and they converge. Why do we need a regional council? Because
it can be argued that you've got the Mata Clutha runs right through here, and if you have Queenstown Council doing part of it, Central Council doing part of it, Clutha Council doing part of it, hadn't managed that whole catchment, and that's where the regional overview. But we could talk all day, and Ed would gladly do so over how regional councils perhaps should be structured, right? This is the place for it.
Well, they're building this enormous palace in Dunedin.
But they're building an office, bro.
Yeah, but about 10 million for that. Where have they been?
We're in about 4 different buildings.
Yeah. Rightio. I don't know whether anyone else has got any more.
I had one philosophical question, if I may, of staff, and it goes back to what Sally said about the grants, that it hasn't been fully subscribed for quite some time, and we're seeing today it hasn't been fully subscribed, and you're looking at doubling it. I've always had a fundamental principle in my mind that you can't overrate. Unless you can say, here's the expense that we're rating for, you can't overrate. Is and it's £5,000 now, it's $4 a household. But are we falling foul of a law or a principle in doing this?
To me, Rebecca might have there's a bit more information to add to this, but to me, it feels we're falling foul of at least the principle of it.
Right.
We do not have the demand, or we have not seen the demand over the last few years for the fund to be spent right up to its maximum.
By the time this budget comes to council, can we please clarify that we're not breaking the law? Because obviously that's.
Yeah. So the only way, you're saying the only way we can justify it is by oversubscription.
Well, showing that there's a demand that you are meeting.
That hasn't been the case today.
And then
There's no change in practice.
to what?
So there's not new staff to actively create opportunities for grants to be spent. If that makes sense.
I'm quite happy supporting the board and what it wants, unless it's breaking the law. In which case,
The other thing I'd note is the Vincent Community Board around this year, there were 2 examples. One community organisation reduced their annual request from $4,000 to $3,000 due to the rates. So the community is actively thinking of the predicament that councils are in at the moment and reducing their demands if they can, but not all are in that position to be able to do that. Others have had come, for instance, last round, the council got requests from Cancer Society and the Bowel Cancer Society, which are declined because they hadn't previously funded those. And so all big organisations are looking for all sources of funding that they can, and little councils like ours need to decide where their interests are. So there's a real mix happening in the community, but the community is plus it's what activity is taking place, and if you knew of the project. So I think if you knew that there was something bubbling away that was likely to come to you, then that would be another reason that you'd think, yeah, this is a chance for us to be able to support that fund. But you haven't had.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that you have the potential to, potentially pause on that increase and then factor that into the long-term plan discussion when you can then go and after the community, because clearly the LTP is time when you do go and speak to your community on significant matters and that sort of stuff. But if the demand's not there, there's also a strict criteria that you have to apply. You can't just splash money around the community. So if the demand's not there present, there's a justification to say, well, actually, we should just keep it the same. We shouldn't overrate our community.
Is that demand a result of the high proportion of absentee owners we have?
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I'm sort of thinking there's when you look right back to board membership nominations, and there weren't that many come out of the community to actually sit on this board. You look at the community groups that we've got around, a lot of them are struggling for input from the community. And whether that's,
So that's clearly a symptom. That's why this probably has been undersubscribed. I mean, if you go to a slightly bigger town with more community groups, based on our work, I'm looking to start with here, if you just don't have that number, hence 5,000 might be insufficient to meet the current demand, and it looks like it is.
well,
I think it's a,
I don't know whether it is, that's my problem.
Next year, the museum will approach for another grant, and if, once again, the electricity,
Yeah.
things going to be that much higher, and the same with the brass band, probably everything's just going to get harder with it. And I think that as a community board, we should maybe insulate that a little bit further.
I think in the quantum, $5,000 was not a big ask, and I was 1% on our rates, but not a big ask for us to change next year.
agree. Right. We went to the rugby club and said,
Huh?
went to the rugby club or the golf club or any of those clubs and said,
Exactly.
have you got any needs? Rather than them not knowing about the fact that they could apply. They could have applied any time in the last 30 years, presumably,
Well,
and they haven't.
if
I
we
wonder
go,
why they haven't. That's probably because they don't know that they could.
We've had conversations with the golf club. So the golf club came to the board a couple of years because of the change in the community leasing and licensing policy. So the golf club would explore applying for a grant.
Okay.
And then I spoke to them directly and they decided not to apply for a grant. So again, it's the community really understands the burden on the ratepayer, and it's they try and. I can't speak.
well, it's interesting, yeah.
Thank you.
And it's not unanimous, like, there'll be some members of the golf club that think they should apply, but they decide not to.
Yeah.
I mean, when we started charging them rent, that was the, I guess, the olive leaf that we offered them is that you can apply for a grant to cover that. And they're interested that they didn't do that.
Well, some thought they did, but,
Did they up their fees?
The fees are like $395 and $495, which is nothing compared to others there. Well, and they're in a really good financial position too. The revenue they get from green fees is quite substantial.
Yeah, so I mean, in the round, we would look at all of it, and if someone was in a strong financial position, then you probably wouldn't be looking to give them a grant.
Yeah. Well, maybe golf was a bad example.
Who gets what from Greenpeace?
Sorry?
Did you say?
Green fees.
Yeah, green fees.
Greenpeace.
Green fees. Golf.
Anyway, let's move on. So we've been asked to approve the draft budgets in the Teviot Valley War component of the 24-25 fees and charges scheduled for inclusion in council's annual plan for 24-25 process. The recommendations are that the Teviot Valley Community Board receives the report and accepts the level of significance. B, recommends to council that the grants fund be increased by 5,000. C, agrees the draft Teviot Valley Ward annual plan budget for 2024-25 and recommends for inclusion to council. Agrees to accept the Teviot Valley Ward fees and charges schedule and recommend the council for inclusion in the annual plan.
Norm, just before you take a vote on that, Sarah, can you just clarify on that recommendation B? It's the community grant fund? Because there's obviously two grant funds.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well picked up. Okay, so we need a motion for A. Yeah.
Take it over one.
It's one.
Has anyone got any objections to us taking this all as one motion?
Yeah, sort of, not an objection as such. I'm not a financial person. I'd have to have a serious look through, you know, what is Because you want to pass this draft plan, or is this just for the community?
This is just the recommendation to go to council. And
Yeah.
the council will have to consider this on April the 24th. And adopt the consultation document to go out to the community for feedback.
Right, okay, gotcha. No. But no.
Okay. So I move then that we follow recommendations A, B, C, and D.
I'll second that.
I don't.
Thank you. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against?
Sorry.
Those against say no. Carried. Okay. Well down the track, the mayor's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I attended Waitangi Day at Te Aroha Life. It's a great event. I particularly enjoyed fluking, having morning tea with Tātipani O'Regan. Had a good catch up, and I got to meet and had a good yarn with Speaker of the House, Jerry Brownlee, and also Minister of Rural Communities, Mark Patterson. And often is the case with events such as that, it's more what happens around the fringes than the actual event that add the value. The next day we had the full day Otago Southland Combined Mural Forum and Turupataio meeting. That's our meeting with iwi leaders from the south, and that included hearing from the newly elected Whakahāere chairman of Ngāi Tahu, Justin Tipper, who is a compelling speaker. I was chosen by LGNZ to be one of two presenters on 13th of February of Parliament to the new and some not so new National Party MPs on the subject of localism. Well, they had a fairly hectic time actually, because it very quickly broke into just talking about and answering questions on local government from some of our country's leaders. Useful thing to do because it was myself and a Taranaki Regional Council chair were the two chosen. So I was able to get that rural perspective in, which is, you never miss an opportunity like that when you can take that to the bowels of the beehive. I sit as the LGNZ National Council rep, and in that role I joined the President Sam Broughton and CEO Susan Freeman-Green for a trip around what's called Zone 6, which is the council south of the Waitaki, including Waitaki. So that was 2 days meeting with mayors, chairs and councillors from QLDC, CODC, DCC, ORC, Clutha, Gore and Invercargill and Environment Southland. Great opportunity to hear from councillors from all across the south and to hear pretty much we're all facing the same problems. In March, I attended the LGNZ National Council meeting. As part of that, it was decided to make Ākona, which is the LGNZ Training and Education Talk, part of the membership fee for 24-25. The take-up on Ākona hadn't been all that great, and it was either lose it or find a better way to fund it. And the view was taken that it's a fantastic tool, and I encourage all council members to look at it. It's the only specific local government training tool in the country. And generally any questions you have that are not particular to the actual role, you'll find the answer to in it. And having it available for everybody, I think will make it, if you have if you've got 2 people want to use it and 10 people don't, then the 10 people will rule, but it will lift the 12 as a whole if there's 2 people actively using it. And I suspect when it's freely available, a lot more will. I was back at Parliament on 20th of February, spent a bit of time there actually with Mayor Glynn from QLDC and 3 locally based MPs. We had a meeting with Health Minister Dr. Shane Retty. Hell of a nice chap, very well informed, enjoyed meeting him. What we're starting to, we're not even sowing the seed, but we're trying to clear a bit of air or a bit of dirt to talk about when are we going to get a when are we going to get a full hospital in inland Otago, being QLDC and CODC. Presently, 70% of the people in New Zealand who are not serviced by a fully serviced hospital live in inland Otago. So you're more than 2 hours away from a full hospital live in inland Otago. That's just our normally resident population. If we count our visitors at peak time, we're basically the same population as Hamilton City. So that's like having the population of Hamilton City at your nearest hospital is a half an hour further than Middlemore, which is just stupid. So we'll see how it goes. Obviously, the government's got no money at the moment, but as I say, we are planting the seed for when the financial situation turns, and yeah, we'll see where we go. The same day council met, and amongst the business that day was the representation review. Nothing in that terribly that would affect Teviot. We have to do that every 6 years at least. We did agree to drop the number of Vincent and Cromwell councillors from the current 5 to 4. The Vincent councillors from the current 5 to 4. not Cromwell. The reason being is that you have to look at, when you have wards, you have to look at your communities of interest and have balance between them. So you have to have a plus or minus 10% balance between the number of people that each council represents between each ward. Apart from Teviot and Maniatoto, because of their geographical distance, they're a special case. So essentially we're talking about Vincent and Cromwell, and to keep that balance, the choice was either put another councillor into Cromwell or to put one less into Vincent. I think it's great credit to the Vincent councillors that they all went, we'll be turkeys and vote for an early Christmas and take one of us out. So that's out for consultation through until the 28th of April. The other thing, again, not relevant to this board, is that we're proposing reducing the number of councillors sitting on the BCB and the CCB from the current 3 to 1, so the same as you have here. Alongside Peter and Vincent, Councillor Tamer Alley, I attended Zone 5 and 6, so essentially the South Island Conference in Christchurch a couple of weeks ago, and at that, or just before that, Tamer was actually elected the chair for Zone 6, which is an outstanding achievement actually for a non-mayor or regional council chair to hold the zone chair role. Very unusual for that to happen. And I'd say that that shows the stature that Tamer's held amongst members of neighbouring councils. Guest speakers included the Honourable Minister Chris Bishop, Minister Mark Patterson. Once again, we heard from Justin Tepper from Naitahu and Simeon Brown, who I will be meeting in a few hours' time. Joined us for dinner as well. So that's the good thing about being part of a larger group, is the opportunity to hear from and speak to the nation's leaders, which you don't get when you're necessarily the mayor of 5.5% of the population. We've been fortunate to get funding through the Mayor's Task Force for Jobs program. That's a nationwide partnership between LGNZ and the Ministry of Social Development. It focuses on finding the NEETs in the community, the not in employment, education or training, the young ones who are just drifting away from productive life in some regards, into the workforce. We've got a coordinator appointed, and he is as keen as mustard to find employers who will take somebody on with some assistance, or a young one who needs some assistance getting into work. And it can be mentoring, it can be as simple as, I've got a job but I can't afford the boots that I need to do the job. Well, we'll buy the boots. If you know of anybody in the community that does need that lift up into the workforce, please let me know, and please tell your compatriots, because quite often it's grandparents and parents that come forward, not the kids.
What is that? What is that again? What is it?
Mayor's Task Force for Jobs. So it gets young ones who aren't working or in education working. So give me a ring if you know someone. I attended the Roxburgh Business Breakfast last month. Numbers were disappointingly down, as they have been of late. In these meetings, I think, I go to them right across the district, and they wax and wane. You'll have times when one community be going great guns, and then 2 or 3 years later, it's not, and it's going through a wane at Roxburgh at the moment. I think these business gatherings are crucial. Even if it's just to sit around the table and go, yeah, I'm finding it hard too. What are you doing about, how hard you're finding it, at a mental health level even. So, I encourage people to keep attending that, because the numbers are getting to the point of, very low. And I also attended the Pioneer Energy 100 Years of Power celebration and got to cut the ribbon on a power pole. So add that to the big book of how to be a mayor. It's a whole new experience. It's a great day, perfect day, great turnout by the people of the Teviot Valley, and that's my lot. Thank you, Mr.
Okay, I'll just move. Thank you, Tim. I'll just move that the Mayor's report be accepted. Have a second.
Oh,
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against say nay. Carry. Okay, the Chair's report. Firstly, I want to thank Mark actually for the way he stepped up and took held the banner for us in response to the delegation's discussion, and the written response you put to us and the presentation you made at the council meeting on the 25th of March.
February, yeah.
Was that long ago? Personally, I didn't have the opportunity to do that myself with obviously with my own business interests, but so thanks, Mark. Thanks for doing it. You did a sterling job. More on the advocacy that Tim was talking about in the community. I was aware that the last business group meeting was attended by more CODC staff than it was people from the community, which is sad. It's people go to make these things, I guess, beneficial for us as a community. And I think as a board, we need to really take stock of that and start supporting not only the business group meetings, but a lot of the, I guess, the social infrastructure, the fabric of our community is struggling in the same sense. You know, I went to the AGM of the Musical Society. Some of those members have been involved for 40 years plus, and they are now struggling for support. It's not that my personal contribution to the meeting would change the dynamics or the interest in that group, but I think that those that have been in those groups just need more support and given direction of where they might tend to go or need to go if there aren't people that are interested in maintaining that, I guess, that society or that thing. And there's not only the musical society, there's the art society, there's, I mean, even the rest home. We're struggling for people to be interested in being on those governance committees. So I'd ask that as a board, we make a conscious effort to step up. And if you see a notice in the paper for an AGM, ensure that one of us is going along to it, or if not two, or if not three of us, just to rally the numbers and rally the support from this core group. Unfortunately, I had to put an apology in for the Pioneer Energy Day, but I heard it did have its desired effect, and as Tim said, he cut the room for the wrong poll.
Well, it wasn't the wrong poll, it's just they can't find the original poll.
But I think it's fantastic that, you know, like that Pioneer Energy have taken that opportunity to celebrate 100 years in our valley. There was discussion around the rest home in the last meeting we had, and there was concern, or may still be concern in the community about whether it remains open. I can tell you that we have undertaken a restructure of the management of the rest home, and in an effort to keep it open, lower our costs. And I've spent a huge amount of time being involved with that. I also have spent a lot of time in the entertainment centre program and working with Bex to try and bring together the upgrade of the fire protection system. Not that I'm influencing it, but just as a sounding board for how it might work for the groups that are involved with the entertainment centre. Obviously, the cinema side of it relies on being able to be open every weekend. And the last thing that I wanted to raise was Pinder's Pond. There is the bus. There is piles of rubbish. There is stuff that needs to be taken away. I don't know how we start going about doing that. Sure, we'll be taking the trailer down there and stuff, and taking it to the dump myself.
So I mean, down today as well. Yeah, we are looking at, so I understand they both might have jobs. So we have a discussion with them in moving along and I've just talked to him about taking rubbish away, which he promised me he would do this. So we're still working through that process.
Does he need a hand to take that away? I mean, does he need a vehicle?
They have
trailer?
a car, as well as the bus.
I'm quite happy to take it back to down.
And then
That's a nice thought for them as we work through and keep the board.
Yeah.
Close to us, but that sounds like a nice thought.
You know, I'll rock around and.
There's also a pile of couches sitting under the trees close to the road. Have you seen that?
No.
The trailer was full and I couldn't fit them on.
Oh,
But they, I don't want anyone to like them. That's if they decide to burn them.
Yeah, okay.
They need to go pretty quickly. All right, I move that my report be accepted. Thank you. All those in favour say aye. Those against? Say no. Carry.
Sorry, just on that community organisation item that you were talking about.
Yeah.
We're currently working alongside Otago, the Central Lakes Trust, Alexandra Community, House and others about pulling, because it's a common issue right across the district and I suspect right across the nation. And so we've collectively pulling our resources about how can we support our local community organisations do that key social infrastructure that we mentioned. That's a project called Huddle. So it's only just in its infancy. We just, at the moment, we've just finished advertising for somebody to coordinate, and they'll coordinate right across Central Otago and Queenstown Lakes. We're working with our neighbouring councils. So just to provide some of that support for those organisations that do such amazing things, but it's not people on the ground like what I'm saying. You really do need that voluntary, but it's giving governance support and advice and all those sorts of things that help those organisations do what they do.
Well, that's cool. Well, it's hugely influenced by the demographic in the community. And a lot of people in our community are getting to the stage where they don't want to be tied to those sorts of things anymore. And the effort, like the Musical Society haven't put on a show for I don't know how long, but the effort that it takes to put that show on is massive. And the cost.
The costs, yeah.
They get charged royalties for the shows and all that stuff, and people just don't want to be putting themselves in the fire.
Or you get on and you can't get off.
Tell me about
Bit like the Pope, you've got to die.
It seems a bit drastic.
it.
Norm, just a question, do those couches need to be taken away? Are they still on the road?
Yeah, they need that. Well, I was there about 3 days ago and they were the event.
We can arrange that.
Yeah, I just don't want someone to like them and amongst all those findings. There's a lot. Members' reports, Sally, start with you.
Yep, so, I was February through 19th of February, I went to the Teviot Prospects meeting. 21st of February, I attended the stakeholders meeting for the social plan. Swimming pool, I had various meetings, but the most exciting thing was that we had our closing days, and we had about 100 people in attendance, and we, I got asked from council if I could help coordinate a Parks Week event. So Maria at council was organising a Parks Week event, and so we coordinated it to have it on the same day as the closing of the pool. So we had a whole lot of little obstacles and stuff set up for the kids. They bought like a truck down trailer with all sorts of games on for kids. So we had that set up in the park next to the pool, and then we had some inflatables that we walked down from Alex that the kids used in the pool, and it was a real success. It was such a great day, and it would have been easily 100 kids running around
Cool.
between the two, and we had free admission on the last day of the pool, so we got people in the district that hadn't been to the pool, and they came from Ettrick and the split and stuff, and with their kids, and it was really great. 11th of March, I had a walkways meeting, and we had intended our walking group to put a application into the ORC fund to be able to do some native planting, but once we spoke with Becky from ORC, we realised that putting in the application was bigger than benefit, so we decided that we wouldn't put the application in. But we have been talking to the Hiata Trust, and so we're thinking that we're just going to start a little bit more organically and do some planting and get some plants from them, and see if we can also bring the community on board with us to do something a little bit more low key. So we've yet to have another walking committee meeting to kind of discuss what our plan is going to be.
So how far along that Teviot Street walkway?
Yeah.
How far along can you go with your? Because
so do you mean going towards Fleet Street? Is that the way
yeah. Can you go? How much further can you go? Because a lot of it is public land.
Yeah,
all the way.
don't know. Actually, don't know how far we could go. Do you mean towards Alex? Like
Yeah.
keep going.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah, don't know.
I'm talking, you know, because the street does come back in close, but I'm talking
Yeah.
300 metres or something like that. But no,
Yeah.
that's not a current objective. But
I also attended a cycle trails meeting in Roxburgh, just to really discuss the link between here and Alexandra. I attended the Pioneer Energy 100-year celebration. And then from a council perspective, on the 26th and 27th of February, we had, some of us had a visit to the Whakataraki Marae at Karatani, and it was thanks to Rebecca that we got to stay overnight on her marae. That's where she comes from, so which was a totally amazing experience, and also thanks to Peter for organising that. 28th of February, we had a council meeting, and it was the delegations discussion that Mark came along and was part of, and also the approval of the memorial wall in Cromwell. They were the two big agenda items that day. 4th of March, I had a meeting with Sam Broughton and Susan Green at council. 8th of March was an audit and risk meeting, and the 20th of March was our next council meeting. And just something to note for the Teviot Valley is that we have got work just like desludging some ponds at the moment, and that work's expected to finish in April. And then over the winter, the effluent is going to be monitored to ensure that our nitrogen issues are addressed. So we'll know over the winter how well that desludging is working. And the nitrogen issue only happens during colder months. And once the work is complete, we are getting a small aerator being installed that was up in Cromwell that we're bringing down to the Teviot to use for that. And then hopefully that might solve our problem, and if it does, there'll be no further work required. Otherwise, the further work that needs to be required will be in the long-term plan, and that will be addressed in 25-26. On the 27th of March, I attended a half-day SIMS basic training emergency management course in Alexandra, and it was the first training course of that type that they've done. So there was council staff there. I was the only councillor that was at that meeting, and we also had some external contractors, police and search and rescue and roving.
What's that colour?
So it was all about emergency management and sort of the main things that I took away from it really was the hierarchy structure that you have. So the SIMS is basically being designed for any scale event, so they can just scale it to what the event is. So it might be a local event, so it may be that it was just in the Teviot, like when we had the flood in the Teviot, we had assistance from Alex, but our operations was down here. If it was a bigger event, it could be a central Otago district-wide event. It could be regional, so the headquarters could be down in Dunedin, or if it was a really massive event, it could be national, and then it would be scaled up in Wellington. So it's a really great structure because it basically works to fit any kind of emergency that you've got. And since we had the floods in Roxburgh, there's actually now a system that they use, which is called D4H system. And so you can log into that and it's got all sorts of templates and everything that you use in the event of a disaster. So I'm actually going into council tomorrow to do the training for an hour and a half for that. That was really good. And that's me.
Thank you. Yep.
Just the one, and that was the medical trust where everything seems to be going on, quite happily at the moment. And yeah, and the outcome for everybody knows about now, is Marion Van Baten's rules.
Let's take a little bit.
It's a good thing.
Marion Hamilton's now the manager of the rest home.
Oh, okay, right,
And it's gonna bring people back.
right.
Yeah.
Come out of retirement.
Oh, wow.
12 months.
So well done.
Right.
Russell?
I don't have anything to report.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm also supposed to be liaison for the entertainment centre, but I'm never notified of any meetings.
The last Tuesday of the month.
It's the last Tuesday of every month.
Sorry, I should leave you on our email. Alright.
Thanks, Norm. I have, the last month or so, I've been to the Pioneer Energy 100 Years in Teviot celebration. That was really good. I thought it was a fantastically run event, and there would have been several hundred people there, wouldn't there? I think it was a huge turnout for the community. It was really, really, I think it's great to see what, a well-planned event, what activation it can get within the community. Hopefully we can think about that. I went to the CRDC delegations presentation at the council on behalf of the community board. I've been to some museum committee meetings, Teviot prospects meetings. They're talking about the living wall, which is now a dead wall, the toilets. So that I think that they've had 3 attempts to keep that going. I think that's going to, it has died a bit of a death. I'm trying to think about what else could go there. I've got a mural. There's a suggestion to put a mural on the outside of the wall here, and that's progressing with the proposals. Garden show, Grovers Hill mountain biking. We'll pick up the street seating, and we're also talking about elderly housing. That's Teviot prospects. And then I have been to 4 Milliswack community meetings. One in particular was with a company called Ernst Law 1, who've got 95,000 hectares of pines or trees. Very big owner of trees around the country. And we went to a freshwater crayfish site visit, and they've got 2,000 freshwater crayfish ponds, which they sort of have been gradually growing over the last 10 years. It started off as one pond, which was one of their firefighting ponds, and then they sort of got onto this thing, and they've got 2,000 freshwater crayfishes, and just now they're coming to a commercial environment where they can start selling them. So that was a really the one we went to was close to Tapanui. That's where their head office is. Ernst-Law 1 have been in country for 30 odd years, Malaysian owned company, but they've been here for 30 years or longer than that. They also happen to be one of the world's largest exporters or traders of seeds for Douglas fir. Anyway, that was very interesting. A spatial plan update I went to on the 21st of February. Is there any update on that for the Teviot Valley Community Spatial Plan?
I don't think it's far away, because I think they just.
It's going to council following that week.
I think they've just held the information coming, they're compiling it, so. Don't have to finalise that yet, but I can imagine a few council don't find it.
Yeah, I don't think it's too far away.
I'll go to the next council meeting, probably. As part of my Teviot prospects thing and a broader issue, I've sort of embarking on a research on community housing for the elderly, and to see what the demand there is in terms of residential rather than rest home. And I note that the Rays Junction property, I just got a note from Lou about a week ago to say that they've shown some interest in purchasing now. And
You see endowment land.
yes,
I think Gareth.
you're going to give us an update on that? Okay, great. And that's about it, except, just anyone that's interested, there's a Millsflat mine are doing a presentation on the 10th of April at the Millsflat Hall.
Okay, thank you. I think just move those reports be accepted from second to twin. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against say nay. Carry. In the interest of time, because I know you guys have got to get away to Ranfurly, the status report. We'll just, if anyone's got anything they want to raise about them rather than going through.
No.
Okay, so I'll move that this report be received.
Yeah, and I was actually just gonna, I think that's the way today, so Gareth's just gonna give us an update on item 23.2.3, which is really interesting, that's it.
On here.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
part
that's part of that.
Okay.
Oh, okay, sorry. I'm gonna race through it too quickly.
That's
I'll do real quick.
Well, it's not me. I'm not in a rush to go anywhere, but these guys are. I could talk all day about these things.
The next wrote a really long summary. I'm going to show you, I'll nip this in the bud quickly. There's a couple of issues with the Southall Rot, so we're still waiting for an estimate quote from the contractor to see how far the rot goes back. It's really going to be in line when they start pulling the wall off, because some of the places are inaccessible. So there's also been a request for information for some of the other contractors via the electrical. So the good news is the contractors have stated that they have got time to do the fire accessibility in a short period of time now. Once the information for request comes back, we'll sit down with Breeds, the main contractor, and just establish what the wall's going to look like. Those two pieces of work will run concurrently. And then depending on how much budget is left, the LED might have to be sacrificed to a later stage. Because obviously prices have increased as we've been going through all these problems with this. So that's basically where we are. So it's imminent. It's about to happen. We're just trying to finalise the last piece of the information.
What was that do?
The lighting.
Oh, so you're gonna update the.
We weren't going to, that was the original budget, but it, because of the South Pole Rot was an unknown.
Yeah.
And then it's taken into this transaction,
Yeah.
deterioration, that we resolved.
Yeah.
And then regarding to Rays Junction, so initially,
That could be after me.
oh, that'd be optimistic. Okay. Also go with that. Thank you.
Thanks, Gareth. I move that report be received. Have a second, please.
I second.
All those in favour say aye.
Right.
Carry. And the date for the next meeting is the 2nd of May. Declare this meeting closed. Thank you, guys. Sorry to keep you up.
Not at all. For a few of us jump away, was there anything specific that you wanted from the?
Yeah.